Good evening. You are welcome. Your friends here, Cousin Priscilla from Further Together, Enriching Relationships, Creating a Better Future.
Yes, guys, thank you so much for joining us on yet another time and moment to enrich our relationship and, of course, enrich your relationship as well. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Feather Together and we have a passion and a heart for marriages and for relationships. And so we are here on every Thursday with different guests, different couples, different individuals to inspire and to enrich marriages.
You know what? Our mentor, Dr. Glover, says marriage matters and yours matters
Matters
most.
most. Yep.
So if you're watching right now and you're watching alone, probably your partner is not there, please tag them on this broadcast so that they will also hear what you're going to hear today. And if you are joining us, yes, I can see that there are people who are joining right now. Would you be kind enough to share with a friend so that they can also share with a friend?
And this one, guys, is not only for those that are married. Invite the singles to come on board as well. We are talking
Invite the
interrelate.
divorcees as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
Invite everybody, and anybody. It will be eye-opening. We are going to look into interracial relationships, and it is always good when we can have people that are walking the walk and talking the talk to come and speak to us, and inspire us. So do invite a single so that they can come and be
Yeah.
blessed.
I don't know who is online. I can see that there are some people who have just joined us already. Would you please show us by saying something? If you make a comment, I can tell that you are here. If you give us a thumbs up and the hearts, we can only see that there are thumbs up and hearts on the screen, but we cannot know that who is there. So if you've joined and you want us to know who is there, please just make a comment and also share with your friend. Share with your friend. Tell a friend to tell a friend that Further Together is right on air. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Hi, Minister Temi.
Yes, Mr. Temi, you are here. Be good, be fine, my friend. It's good to see you right there. Sister Ramwi, long time. Where have you been? It's good to see you. Yeah, we're catching up.
Pastor Zata,
Pastor Zata,
good
how are you?
evening
It's
to
good evening.
you.
Thank you
for
for coming.
jumping on.
It's good to see you. If you can share with friends as well, friends and family. Tonight is going to be a different night. We got we got a beautiful couple coming.
They call them the cute couple.
There's somebody. She's going to join now. Whenever she sees them, she's quite crazy. Say, wow, that cute couple. Yeah, we have brought the cute couple tonight, and we want to know what makes them so cute. You know.
Yes, guys, we're not going to waste much time. We are going to bring Lee and Grace. And like we said earlier on, we are going to discuss interracial relationships. We want to know, do you guys experience the same challenges as we all do? Or maybe you have some little extras, than everybody else. And I think it will be so eye-opening to learn and to be inspired by this unique and amazing couple. So we're gonna bring them on. Like we said earlier, do share and tag a friend. Let them come on and be blessed.
Oh yeah, Lee and Grace, you're welcome.
Can you unmute yourself, please?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
It's good to see you, and I like the colors. I like the black. I don't know what it means, but I can see
Valentine.
and it's somewhat color blocking. The white wearing a black t-shirt, and something of that nature.
Got a little bit of white in there.
We planned this ages ago.
Oh, come on, Lee, you've started already. Thank you so much for joining us. It is always a pleasure when we meet up with you guys. To those that don't know you, we've been friends, couple friends for a pretty long time, and time and again we come to yours and you host us, or you come to ours and we host you. And these are the things that always keeps our marriages stronger, when we have like-minded people that we can have moments and time, and he can copy some notes, from Lee, and then
Yeah. Without further ado, would you guys tell the viewers who you are in depth, apart from what they have just known? You being Lee and Grace.
and
What?
where you're from, who's from Asia, who's from South Africa?
So I'm from South Africa.
Oh gosh.
I was born in Joburg. No, I'm only playing. So yeah, I'm Lee. I was born in England. Both my parents were born here. But yeah, born and raised in East London. Grew up in East London most of my life. Yeah, I'm a teacher, qualified teacher. Teach in a college in East London. I'm a curriculum manager of sports, dance, and production arts. Young people are my passion. Yeah, that's me.
And I'm Grace, Lee's wife. Yeah, we've been married for 12 years. I was born in Zambia and I came here when I was 9. Yeah, then I met Lee when we were 16 in college. We're both studying performing arts. So we're both in the arts. Lee's more or less practicing it more than me. I'm a stay-at-home mom and part-time work as well. Yeah, so that's us really.
Wonderful. Great to know you guys. You've been married for 12 years, and
Yeah.
you've got with 3 beautiful children. Tell us, how
Yeah.
has married life been for you guys? How has the past 12 years been?
Do you want to start?
No, do you know what? As Grace said, we met when we were 16. So we've known each other for a long time. We got married when we were 21. So we got
Wow.
married, yeah, super young. And it was challenging, I'm not gonna lie. I'll be super honest with you. To get married at 21 brings on a lot of responsibility. In reflecting and looking back, I don't know if I was fully ready. And if I didn't know what the key responsibilities of a husband was, or how to be a husband. And I've had to learn, and I pray that I've learned, and I'm still learning. And then we had our first child at 23. So we kind of had to grow up super quickly, and learn everything as as it came at us. But for me, it's been a journey, and it's been a beautiful journey. Grace is my best friend. She's someone that I love to be with and love spending time. Brownie points.
Right, hang on. Then, on that note, you are ushering us to where we wanted to go. So guys, I know you were ready. You were ready to flow, and we just wanted to disrupt the flow, and we're gonna ask you some few questions here where we want you to be as honest as you can to yourself and to the people who are watching right now.
Okay.
Right.
First question is to Grace. What 3 words would you use to describe your partner?
Loving, very caring. I'm very romantic.
Oh, nice. And Lee?
Myself.
Don't describe yourself. Describe
Okay. 3 words. There's not 3 words isn't enough to describe my wife, but I would say beautiful, intelligent, just amazing Grace.
amazing, Grace. Wonderful.
What was the best present you have ever gave her?
The best present I've ever given her.
Or he's received. Which one?
No, what I've given you. That was the question.
What was the best present you have ever received from her?
Oh, what I've received from her.
Wait a minute. What do you mean? You really have to think about it.
Of course.
Yeah,
There are too many, maybe.
So many.
So bad.
Grace, jump
The,
on yours.
okay, the best. I think the best present. When we first got married, about 3 years in, she bought me a PSP. You know, a PlayStation, a handheld PlayStation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and an iPod Nano. That's how long ago it was in the same thing. So that was not that she bought me something. No, that's not how long ago. But that's the best present was a PSP and a Nano.
Amazing. What was best for you, Grace?
My best gift would have to be on my 21st birthday. He bought me 21 gifts. And
Wow.
the last gift, he gave me the 20 gifts the day before, and I could open them that morning. And when he came to see me, he said, "There's one more gift that I need to bring you." And when he came, I'd lost my kitten or my cat some years back, and he bought me another kitten.
Oh,
And that was my last yeah, that was my 21st gift.
indeed. So what do you guys mostly argue about?
Do you know what?
Sometimes money.
Sometimes money. Now we're kind of, I was saying earlier, we're kind of at that stage where we don't really, there's not one particular thing that we argue about. If we disagree about something, we'll disagree, speak about it, and move on. Sometimes it's the children. It's funny because it used to be race. We used to have lots of discussions and arguments and disagreements about race and obviously our different points of view. But now I think the more we've matured and we understand each other more and we talk more openly.
Yeah. We sometimes agree to disagree.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's little things like for me, we argue like if I'm not, and it sounds silly, but if Grace isn't showing me enough attention, or if she's on the phone too long, or if I'm on, you know, it's like little things like that. It's like, oh, nothing major. I would say like now, back in the day, yeah, but now we're all right.
Okay. For Grace, if Lee is to take one thing to a desert island, what would it be?
I think he would say the Bible, but I think he would take his phone.
iPhone 12, iPhone 12, iPhone 12.
I have a Samsung.
Bible as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but yeah.
And that would be a nice one. What were the exact words when he proposed?
Can't remember.
He said, "Can you look in your glass?" And I said, "Pardon?" He said, "Look in your glass." Because what he did was he had given me a glass of wine and there was fireworks going off. No, glass of champagne, sorry. And he had dropped the engagement ring in the glass. So I was drinking away, looking at the fireworks. Then he was like, "Look in your glass." And then I had to look in, and he was down on one knee, and he said, "Will you marry me?"
2 knees.
Okay, 2 knees, sorry.
I was begging.
And the last thing is, what's the most romantic thing that you've done together?
Apart from children.
What you mean, make them? Well, that's definitely top. I mean, no, I think the most. Do you want me to say? I think the most romantic thing that we've done together is probably go on our 10th wedding anniversary. Once again, Lee's very romantic. He did surprise me to a trip to Morocco. So I didn't know we were going until we got to the airport. That's when I knew where we were going. So he just got my stuff all packed up and stuff. I think that's the most romantic thing we've done together.
Stanley Navarra is asking, like, you went down on two
Two
knees.
knees?
Have you ever lived in Africa before? Have you lived in Africa?
Do you know what it is for me? I always like to be different, and I always like to. I think that I don't know. For me, one knee is that normal, like that's the tradition, and that's what people do. But I kind of just wanted to show that she's worth more than one knee. Two knees is you know what I mean? That was the mindset that I was in, is that I just wanted to know that this is how much she means to me. And like, I was pretty much just begging, to be honest. Please marry me.
That's quite beautiful. May I also shout out, say good evening to Nelson Madzekatire is here. Pastor Stanley Navera is here. Rumbi, Carol Rumbi, how are you?
Thank you guys for joining. Sister Maria, thank you for joining.
Oh, Shamika Tsande, how are you? See, Priscilla's, oh yeah, Miss Nduku is there as well. She's saying it's good to see Lee and Grace, and a number of other people. I can't mention all of you. Thank you so much for joining. Could you please share with friends, to tell friends that we are right here on air with Lee and Grace, and tonight we are discussing
interracial
relationships. And Lee, you mentioned that one of the things that you used to argue about was the issue of race. Can you take us through that phase, please?
I think it was about understanding. Obviously, I'm a white male, Grace is a black female, and we come from two different worlds per se. I didn't understand. It was down to me. I needed to educate myself and understand where she used to come from. So when she would say things like, you know, we'd watch a talent show, for example, and she would say, "Oh, this show is racist." I'd be like, "Why is it racist? Why is everything racist? Why do you have to say everything's racist?" But then it wasn't until I opened my eyes and started understanding and looking into things deeper that I realized, okay, let me start to understand more. And it'll be things like, obviously, our children are mixed race, and Grace would say, you know, in society they're viewed as black. I would always contest it and be like, no, but they're mixed race. But once again, after having deep conversations and discussing it, that's the truth of the matter. And I thought I would always try and defend, you know, be like, no, it's not like that, it's not like that. But instead of actually being understanding and listening to Grace's point of view without getting my back up and without, you know, putting the boundaries up straight away. And then I don't know, from your on your behalf, babe, what you,
in terms of race, I think you've said it. I think it was just the understanding, and sometimes I think what made it hard maybe for Lee to accept was maybe my delivery, because sometimes I would be that mad black woman, if you
like, we can't watch slavery movie like 12 Years a Slaves and the Butler. We can't watch things like that because I'm sleeping on the couch that night for something that I didn't do.
You're putting me
Let's be
okay.
Yes.
Do you know what?
Okay.
I'm still dealing with that.
Yeah,
there's certain movies that I'm okay, but I'm not gonna lie, as a black person, there's certain things that arise within me that I get really mad, that I start looking at him like, you know, colonizer. Like I'm sleeping with the enemy, you know, like no. No, but in all honesty, I think with time we've learned to just understand and just say, okay, if a movie seems a bit too much, I might, if I look at the trailer and I'm like, this one's going to be a very sensitive one, I would rather we just don't watch it together, and then I can just put myself together once I've watched it and realize that he obviously is an individual. But it's just sometimes it's just the feelings, man. They're just there.
And you know, I'll speak as white people like to pretend that racism isn't there. I'm just gonna be honest with you, and that's that thing of, we try and, not we because I'm, you know, but they try and shy away from, or anyone really tries to shy away from it. I know it can't be that they can't be racist. It's about just deal with the fact of the matter that there is racism out there, and it is happening, so we can't hide behind it and think that it doesn't affect us, because it does. But I like to think that we, you know, we're on that level now where we can talk about things and know that sometimes conversations will make someone upset, but it doesn't mean they're upset at you. It's the topic that upsets them.
Wow. Understanding is key in all that you're mentioning to us now. So in your case, do you still look at color? Do you see color when you look at yourself?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. I don't, it's really funny because when I show people Grace's picture, when I say that I'm married to a black woman, they always say, "Oh, I knew that. I could tell. We knew you'd married to as a black woman." But now I think it is at that stage where, yeah, I had, you know what it is? I also had to learn to accept and love Grace for Grace, and things like I had to understand, like a lot of things like natural hair. What does it mean to look after natural hair? Why is natural hair so important? Just different aspects of her, and now it's just normal to me. Like, yeah, I don't even see. I'm colorblind anyway, so I didn't even know she was black till now.
You're right.
How were you accepted, being married to an all white family? I know Lee is an East Londoner guy, and the whole family, kind of East London. Never been to Africa. I think Lee is the first in his clan to be in Africa. So how were you? How were you accepted? How was the reception?
I think to start off with, there were little things that would be said that would be offensive, that maybe, as Lee said before, he tried to shy away from, like if I go to him, I'm like, oh, your mom said, oh, because I've never had parsnips, I was deprived as a child, or, little comments here and there. But I think the most important thing was I had to accept myself first.
Yeah.
And that was then reflected onto them. And I was able to say and speak up if something was said that I felt, I don't think that's really right for you to say that. I mean, I'll give a typical example that your dad used to do. He doesn't do it anymore. But like if Lee's dad is describing a white person, he'll just say, oh, my mate Mike, this and that. But if he's talking about somebody else, oh, the Polish guy, or the black guy, so and so, and it's like, so I had to say to him, why is it that you have to constantly talk about race when you're talking about another person from another race, but when you're talking about white people, you just go straight to their name? That should be like, a secondary thing. You should be you should say, oh, the guy Tony, and if maybe I can't seem to remember, then say, oh, the Polish guy. That's, that way at least you're not so focused and you're not showing too much emphasis on the race. So I think with myself, it was that thing where I had to be comfortable in order for them to accept me, because I accepted myself. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Very, very, it does make sense. Everything starts with us. If we can accept ourselves for who we are, then the outside world can accept us as well. Did you face any challenges from the outside world? Say maybe you're out shopping. Would you get those stares, or people looking at you like
black and white,
or like?
We had them in college, actually. I remember my first experience of that was I had a lot of black guys in my class, and when I started hanging around with Lee, because he came in my second year of college, they were like, oh, who's this guy you've been hanging around with? I was like, oh, who, Lee? And they were like, so they actually literally ganged around me, like literally made a circle in class, and they were like, what, are we not good enough for you? Wow. And I was like, what are you talking about? They were like, why'd you have to go and choose a white boy? Like, what's wrong with us black men? And I just thought, oh my gosh, and that was my first experience of, wow, people actually have an issue about black and white being together, and then, I mean, going shopping, would you say? I think it depends. If we go to certain areas, that are predominantly white, or, then yeah, we might have some issues, but it's not something I could say we really pay attention to.
Yeah, I don't think we just even notice it.
Yeah, we just kind of get on with it, We are who we are.
And Lee, you have been to Zambia. How was the reception there? What stood out the most, and how were people treating you as a white guy in a black dominated area?
So as a Muzungu, Yeah, Muzungu. Muzungu. No, do you know what? It was uh Africa's beautiful. Zambia is beautiful. I went to Africa prior on a mission trip when I was 21. I went to Uganda. And then when we got married, well, we were married then, wasn't we? When I went to Uganda.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 5 years ago, we went to Zambia. Zambia is beautiful. I fell in love with it when I was there, to be honest, and the people, um, super friendly and welcoming. I remember that I went to the shops with Grace's mum. Couple of things. I went to the shops with Grace's mum, and there was these kids that were walking back, young kids, and they were just staring, like just staring at me and wouldn't move. And Grace's mom actually called them over and was like, "No, come," and they came, and like I spoke to them, and it was like, and I love children, so we spoke and we played for a bit, and then they went, and I went to the shop, and then I got a crate of Coke, because Coke in Africa is the best. So I got a crate of Coke. And then the shopkeeper didn't.
Best.
Sorry?
I think it's the best.
It's the best. We're banned too. It's the best. Yeah, it was, but she didn't charge me. I don't know. We was chatting, and then the shopkeeper actually came to the house and was like, "Oh, she gave me the crate without charging," and it's just because we were chatting and stuff.
So
It was, the reception was really nice. I mean, Grace's cousins took me out to a restaurant, and then it was just really nice. We went out and like had a little dance and stuff, and it was just really nice to see the culture. And yeah, I can't wait to go back. And we actually have land out there that we will start building on, and who knows, maybe retire there by myself.
and you go 3 kids,
Yeah.
mixed race. What sort of lessons would you want your children to learn, because they are not treated as black, and they are also not treated as white?
I think the main thing we try to teach them is that they're not better than anyone else because of their skin tone. Growing up, especially, and even today, being mixed race was seen as the thing to be. Everyone wanted to be mixed race, or lighter skinned, and they thought that would make them, I don't know, better, or, more attractive or whatever. So for me, it's teaching. So we have 2 boys and 1 princess. The youngest is our daughter, and our 2 boys. Our eldest is 10. With him, I really try and let him know that his skin color doesn't, make him better than anyone else. What makes him better than everyone else is his heart and his soul, and how he acts and treats people. So it's just about that, but also we teach them both sides, don't we? So they know about their African heritage and the culture, but then they also know about the English and the British culture. And I done an ancestry test last year, and I'm only 50% English and a bit Belgium and a bit Dutch. So we started to explore that as well, and yeah, that's my gun.
I think with the children, it's funny because you talk of race, and it's funny how you see the different characters. So our eldest is very much into African stuff. Like he's been to Zambia twice. He wants to. No, they all love the African food, and they love British food. But you find the eldest is more into the African. The middle child is very more to the white side. And then the last born is just in between, she just dabbles here and there. So I think, as Lee said, it's nice for them to just know, they've got the best of both worlds, and they don't necessarily have to choose, but they do have to be aware of what is going on, and how sometimes they can be treated, unfairly for some reason. So
exactly.
Oh yeah. Yes, somebody says we call them yellow bone, isn't it?
Yellow bone like me.
Amazing. Grace, on your side, how supportive were your family? Obviously, you dated for a little while before you now told them that I am marrying this guy? How supportive were they?
Do you know what? My family, that I think that's one thing I do really love. I mean, I've grown up predominantly with my mom. My dad was around before we got married, but he left just before we got married. Uh, my dad probably was the one that was off because when Lee brought the dowry, he actually said no. He kicked him out. Like, no, 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 you're not marrying her. And my mom was like, why not? And he didn't have a reason. He just said no. No. So my mom had to speak to him and, you know, stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, my whole family, we're all mixed, honestly. Like, one of my sisters married to St. Lucia, and the other one's married to half Ghanaian, half Scottish. The other one's married to a Zambian. So we've always, yeah. Oh, the other one's married to a Nigerian. Sorry. And so it's always been, you know, whoever you love. My mom's always said that to us. You know, whoever you love, as long as they're Christian, that's all that matters. Just have that foundation. I don't care. They can be Chinese, Indian, whatever. Just as long as you have those principles, I don't care. So my family was always very supportive, to be honest.
So Lee, on that note, how did you find that, having to go and pay a dowry, something that's not done in your culture?
Do you know what? I've kind of grown up. I grew up in Leighton, as I said earlier, East London. I've kind of always grown up around, you know, Caribbean, African people my whole life. So I kind of had a little understanding of it. But at the end of the day, I think that is, for me, I was willing to do anything to marry Grace. Like, if they said, you know, jump in the ocean, I'll jump in the ocean. You know what I mean? I'll do it. So but it was a discussion. I had my brother-in-laws were obviously older than me, and you know, we used to talk, and I used to ask them, okay, so what's the protocol, what's the procedure, how does it work? And I didn't actually inform anyone that I was saving, or like, I didn't tell my parents. I don't even know if my parents know to this day that I had to pay a dowry or offer and things like that, because it's none of their, I hope they don't see this, but it's none of their business. You know what I mean? Like, it's me. But that's what it is. And I was marrying into a culture, and I have to understand that culture. So I done my research. I came with the Pyrex dish with the gift, and then I asked, you know, I didn't speak. I had a representative who spoke for me. And I feel sorry for the guy that wants to come and marry my daughter, because, boy,
You're gonna charge him?
Of course I'm gonna charge dowry. Yes. What do you mean?
Okay, we never spoke about
We
this.
don't need to speak about that. 100%.
Okay, so we're taking that culture when it comes to Eloise.
Yes.
Okay, and then you're okay with okay, we'll talk about that. I didn't know this. I'm just learning about
it. Of course, that's, you know, but it's you learn, isn't it? And as you said, someone said, love has no boundaries, and it's true. You know, you don't think about them things when you love someone, you just do.
You know, there's this stereotyping which we always have in our communities. White boys can dance, white boys can fight. You know, white boys are not as good as black boys in bed. That kind of a thing. How did you manage to overcome such stereotypes, especially for Grace, knowing that, you know, you are working with this white dude, and you know, at uni, you know, those black boys, yeah, white boys can fight, white boys can dance. I know Lee's kind of he's a black boy champion in white boy. And he's a dance teacher as well.
He can dance better.
Exactly.
But how do you manage to overcome those stereotypes?
I think for me, to be honest, I like the fact that he was kind of like a black boy in a white body.
I don't understand.
No, but you know, honestly, I think that's what I really loved about when I met Lee.
Yeah.
When I really got to know him, it was the fact that, you know, because of the area that he grew up in, he had the swag. He, you know, he could dance, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, you know. And like the stereotypes, you know, about, oh, they're not good in bed. I mean, I got married, you know, we didn't have sex before we got married, and I was a virgin when we got married. So I don't even have anyone to compare him to. From what I know,
you don't need no one, baby.
He brings it. He brings it. So yeah, I don't think I had much to really overcome, apart from like obviously little comments here and there. But as you know, as someone said earlier, as Lee said, you know, like love has no boundaries. Like to me, I didn't really care. This is a person I fell in love with, and you know, I did try and move on. I did actually get engaged to somebody else, but it just didn't work out. Like I just knew, and you know, in fact, the other guy knew of Lee, and he actually said to me, you know what? What job to do? He actually told me, he said, oh, I think you're still in love with Lee. And I said, why'd you say that? And he was just like, I just feel it. I don't feel like you and I, you know. And I was just like, well, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, then we just ended up back together. So it was meant to be, I guess.
Yeah. You know what? You guys, do you remember the first time we met? It was outside London, and it was a couples meeting. So we were having, and during the night we had after the dinner we were dancing, and you know what? I was dancing with Priscilla, and I looked at this white guy, and I'm saying, you know this white guy. I think surely this guy, he's a black guy trapped in one.
Do you know? I think it's down to, as I said before, your upbringing and where you were born and where you were raised. To be honest, and what you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that it's not as much down to skin color or you know, it's down to culture and how your environment and how you're raised, and you know
because you get some black guys who just can't move. You're like, wow.
But I agree. Some white people are shocking at some white people don't have rhythm.
But that's the funny thing, though. Like, I think there's also different types of, you know, like white guys. You know, I've always said like I couldn't go with a white guy, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, or you know, please anyone don't take it that way. I just mean that I just feel like with Lee, he's cultured. Like he's got the black culture, and once again, I think that's what attracted me to him.
And you know what, as to answer your question about goes back a bit, like the struggles of being a white guy married to a black girl. You know, growing up, you always get that thing of, oh, you want to be black? Why do you want to be black? Or you know, you're this, you're that, and you know, you're trying to be black and all this. And for me, I love the fact that I'm white. I wouldn't change that, because that's me, and that makes me unique and different the way that I am. But it's not that thing of wanting to be a different race or wanting to be black or wanting to be mixed race or whatever. Is what Grace said. Like, I genuinely love the culture. I love the food. I love everything about it. So is that was that interest, you know, growing up, and just like I've never, you know, Grace said Grace actually was engaged to a black guy and dated black guys. I've never actually dated a white girl. So for me, it's just
mixed and black.
Yeah.
So Grace, you married him for the British passport, innit?
I'm so glad you brought it up. I think it's more for the surname, to be honest. I can't lie.
Oh God. First of all, when I married him, I had 2 passports, okay, the Zambian and the British, so I didn't need him really for that. So no, not for
it was for the mixed race children.
Yeah, probably.
Exactly. You know what? A lot of the times growing up, we used to be like, oh, I want to get married to a white guy so I can have a mixed race.
Unfortunately.
You know, but that's I went for a light-skinned man when I couldn't see it. It didn't produce the mixed race. So yeah, actually some people do get married for that reason. But you know, it's so special when you're so in love, and the love has no boundaries. You know, it looks beyond someone's race and color, and you can just build this special union that you guys have. You know, something evident when we are around you, when we come to yours, when you come to ours. It's just a special union. You know, Lee, you mentioned about you loving African culture. On that note, we would love for you to give us your African accent.
Just give us a phrase, give us a sentence in African one, man.
Why? In come on now. Come on now.
I know that sounds Indian.
No, it doesn't. What do you mean?
You have to say something in my language.
In your language, okay. What should I say? I'm going to work tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine.
Milo.
Mm.
Naenda conchito Milo. Nienda conchito Milo. Niko kwanda maningi.
Okay, yeah. That means I love you.
Say something more romantic.
Well then. I can I can tell that you've been to Zambia. There are certain conflicts that we see in families, and one of the biggest conflicts we have in the African culture is the in-laws, where her family think they have upper hand in our relationship more than mine, and my family think they also have an upper hand more than hers. How have you managed to, and how are you guys coping up with that, the issue of in-laws?
Do you know what? I think it was different. So I'm the youngest and Grace is the youngest as well. So I was my mom's baby.
Yeah.
So my mom spoiled me growing up. I got breakfast in bed until I was 18.
Wow.
Yes, I didn't know how to use a washing machine. I didn't know how to say it again.
Very spoiled.
Yeah, like I didn't know how to use a washing machine. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to do none of them things. And I remember before I got married, I said to my mom, I said, "Mom, can you teach me how to use the washing machine?" And she was like, "As long as you live here, you don't need to know that."
Wow.
So I had to learn. Now I must say, I've learned how to cook. I love cooking now. I like to do, I've had to learn. So it was difficult for my mum to let go of me, I would say. She's very protective, and Grace and her clashed quite a lot because of that. But my mum, we had lots of discussions, and I'm still super close to both my parents, my mum and my dad. But now they kind of, wouldn't you say, they just
I think because it's with Lee, I don't know, maybe because there were two parents, I don't know, but I really struggled to, especially the first year of marriage with Lee's mom, because we had to spend the night every weekend. Friday to Sunday, we had to be at their house. Lee had to call his mom every single night at 9 p.m. And it just got too much for me. When you start off, you think, oh, it's okay, I can deal with this. Then in the end, I said, you know what, I can't cope anymore, because it's like you're married to two women, and
but
obviously
Lee,
and Lee didn't. We really struggled. He couldn't see that until I think your uncle even told you when we went to Plymouth. You need to make a decision, because you can't have two women, and this is your mom's brother. So it was very close to home, and I think that's when Lee kind of started listening. But then I think the thing that really tipped it over was myself calling Lee's mom, and we had a very big argument, and I remember saying some things, and she said some things, and I just remember saying to her, if this marriage breaks down, it's because of you. And we ended up having a conversation, just the two of us, and I think from that time things kind of got a bit better, because then I was able to air out and just tell her, we can't be coming every weekend, she can't be calling you, it's just too much. We have you can imagine, you're trying to get down at like maybe half 8, 7:45, and halfway through is like, hang on a minute, it's 9 o'clock, I need to call my mom, like it's just like, no. So
you have to learn.
Definitely.
And from my side of things, you said it's like Grace's mum and myself clashed quite a lot when we first got married. But for me, you know, everything is about self-reflection. Like,
Yeah.
what can I do? How can I, is it me? You know, if so many people are saying the same thing about you, then you have to self-reflect to say, hold on a minute, let me think about what it is that I'm doing wrong. And I had to, you know what, if I'm honest with you, I had to grow up a lot. I said to my wife, first couple of years of marriage, I said in the beginning, I didn't know what it meant to be a husband. I didn't know how to be a husband. I didn't have that guidance before we got married. I've had to learn, and I'm still learning. You never stop learning. And I'm not the perfect husband, but I'm striving to be the perfect husband. So we used to clash all the time, and then it wasn't until, cause we lived with Grace's mum when we first got married, and then we moved out for a while, and that's when we started to appreciate. And now me and Grace's mum are great friends. She calls me her partner in crime. She's actually, you know, I view her as just as a mum. We have really long conversations, and she'll call me when she needs something and stuff. So it's like anything, is a journey. But if you put your partner first, and that's what it should be, you know. For me, you know, the Bible says Christ died for the church, and we should love our wives as Christ loved the church, you know. And he died for the church. So something in us as men has to die for us to love our wives, and that might be pride, that might be something else. So I take that on board, and you know.
Woo! Big.
Lee, just look at the screen. Can you see that?
Transformation.
Indeed, and it's only God that can bring about that transformation.
Definitely.
Earlier, that as long as for your parents, Grace, it was as long as your spouse was a Christian, they were ready to accept. So how important has Christianity been in your relationship, and how has it shaped you to being who you are today?
It shaped me a lot, to be honest. That is the foundation, that is the anchor. You know, Christ has been the anchor. You know, whether it's my own personal walk, whether it's us corporately as a couple, as parents, you know, God has really, there's been times that, you know, you say prayers and they seem so little, and you think, oh, it's not gonna work. You know, can God even hear me? And it's like the next day it just happens. And sometimes it's even things that, you know, you're trying to maybe speak to your spouse and they're just not hearing you. They're just not understanding. You take it to God in prayer, and it's amazing what prayer can actually do. You know, so just having that relationship, and the fact that you're both Christians, you both have the same faith, you have the same principles, you know, God can work. You're not unequally yoked, you know, and I think that's very important. That just, it's really kept us, because I would say 5 years into our marriage, there was a time where things weren't great. Honestly, we were actually speaking of divorce. That's how bad it was.
When we moved out, I went to view the house by myself. I went to, and Grace didn't even see the house before we moved. I went and sorted it all out and spoke to the landlord, and then the day I said, I'm moving out, it's either you come with me and we make this work, or we don't. And then thank God she came. And then
Christ has been definitely, if you put Christ in the center, he just brings you together, man. Even when things just seem so, you know, you seem so far apart, you just can't see eye to eye, even to a point where you just don't even like each other. Like, it comes in, I'm like, I want to walk out of the room. He's irritating me, you know. And but you just know there's just that tugging, you know, that little tug at your heart, like, okay, you know, bring it to me. Just give it to me and I'll deal with it.
And I think what's beautiful is that Grace, you know, was saved at 13 and grew up in the church. I didn't grow up in the church. You know, the first time I went to church is when I was 16. And it's funny because Grace led me to the Lord. She invited me to church, started going to church. If I'm honest, I started going to church for Grace to start off with. You know, but then, as Grace said, we broke up for a long time, and I had to go off and find my own salvation, you know, and work out my own salvation, as the Bible says. And I remember how we were having a conversation when we weren't together, and Grace was engaged, and I said to her, I wish I met you now, the way that I love the Lord now than I did when I was 16, because you would be mine. Do you remember that? Because we saw each other every Sunday in church. But that's what it is, you know. If it wasn't, I always say God sent, you know, I say God gives everybody grace, but I got my very own. And I've always said that, you know. I feel like obviously if it were if it weren't for the Lord sending grace to me, I believe that I don't know where I would be, and that's the truth. I know everyone says that, but I grew up, I was on, you know, we don't need to go into that, but I was a little bit naughty. And living that way. You know, white boys can fight, you know. But it is super important. Christ is our foundation, and you know, as Grace said, I don't know where we'd be without him.
Oh, yeah, indeed. You know what? It's true. Lee is one man I have seen, you know, loving the Lord more. And if there's a word which I will use to describe him is stretching. He's one guy who stretches more and has gone, you know, a little bit more wider than the time I have known him, just for the things of the Lord. And you know, it's one thing that makes us so happy that we have friends who love the Lord, and who also encourages us to love the Lord, invites me to the men's table,
and to love one another.
Yeah, invites me to the men's we have our men's talk, you know, Friday we go into the cave and we have our own chat as well. There are young guys, or there are people out there and they want to get in and interact. What word of advice would you give to them?
You want to take that one? No, I can take that. Do you know what? I would just say don't listen to people. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. People will always have an opinion. You know, no matter if you do something that's great, people always have an opinion. Opinions aren't facts. So don't listen to people. Don't try and please people. You know, I think sometimes you try and please, like you said, family. You try and please your family. You try and please your friends. You try and do what is socially acceptable. So you can hear the children. But yeah, don't worry. Don't listen to those stereotypes of, you know, white, like you said, white guys are this, white guys are that, or like, you know, black girls are attitudey and black girls are this and black girls are that. You don't. Everyone's different, regardless of their race or that Grace isn't, being black doesn't define her. Do you get it? So even if Grace was purple or blue or red, I'd still love her because it's Grace. I'm actually gonna write a book when I'm older. Well, when I'm older in the future, about being married to a black woman as a Caucasian male.
Oh gosh.
So look out for the, I'm being serious. Look out for the book. You know, it's just the little things that white guys need to know. You know, like if you wake up and there's eyelashes on the side, don't be scared. You know, you go to bed. You know how many times you go to bed with a wig? You wake up, you roll over, and you get scared. Who am I laying in bed with? And then you realize, oh, this is my wife. No, I'm playing, you know.
No, I think it's good to take on the other person's culture, find out intricate details, just, you know, ask the questions, as silly as they may be, just ask them, you know, what does this mean? What does that mean? You know, get to know the culture, you know.
And never dismiss it, you know. Don't dismiss it and be like, oh, why would you do that? Or, what's that? Like, there's no such thing as that. You can't do that. If that's someone's, you have to be respectful, and as it goes down to understanding.
And then make your own traditions, because it's not everything that is, you know, because culture can be quite bad sometimes, you know. But I think you don't have to take on everything. There's certain things you might have to say, okay, you know what, I don't really agree with this. Maybe in our own family, can we not do this? So yeah, I think just find your own, you know, tradition, your own culture, and just make it a beautiful little world of your own.
This is so profound. Understand cultures, accept the differences, and build your own culture, you know, and knowing that the kingdom culture is always the best culture.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
lay ourselves before the Lord and let the Lord guide our relationships. That is
Yes.
so profound. Thank you guys for that. We are just rolling down to a close. And as always, we always say that we cannot let our guests go unless they give us homework. So something for us to take home, our takeaways, things to do. Bring it on.
Don't wait till Fridays. No.
Go on that one, me.
Friday.
Go on that one.
Sorry. No. So I think that for our homework this week, we should swap responsibilities and chores. One chore for a week. So something that your wife would normally take care of, or the husband, then you switch that around. So for us, I deal with the children at night time. That I put the children to bed. If they wake up in the night, I'll be the one that goes and deals with them. I always do the night shift as it was. Don't worry, I won't make you do the night shift. It's fine. But yeah, so switch something. If your wife always does the dishes, you do them for a couple of days. If she always does the ironing, vice versa. Just take the load off a little bit and switch and see what it's like from the other person's perspective and what they have to deal with.
I love that. I love that.
You know what? So for the whole of next week, no school run, and you are taking the rubbish bin out.
For me, it's gonna be getting a massage every evening. Because my wife gets a massage every evening.
Not every evening. Most evenings.
You're gonna lie?
No, it's most evenings.
Yeah. So most now is we
vice
gonna
versa.
Okay.
Just finish it off with the Friday story.
Okay. So I used to I used to work with a friend, and Friday was his day that him and his wife made love every Friday without fail. And I used to see him on a Thursday, and I'd be like, "Oh, you're right." I'm not gonna say his name. I used to call him Papa, actually. He's like, "You're right, Papa." He was like, "Yep, tomorrow's Friday," and like on Friday morning, he'd have the biggest smile on his face because he knew that him and his wife were about to get down that night. So don't wait for Fridays. Every day can be a Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the Friday. That's the Friday situation. that routine.
Friday today, by the way, but don't wait for
Friday. Yeah. So guys, we thank you so much, Lee and Grace, for affording us the opportunity to have you.
Thank you guys.
No, thank you so much for inviting us. Honestly, it's been a pleasure, and it's such a privilege as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's quite an educative kind of a talk, knowing that Priscilla and I, we are all from Zimbabwe. So my children are mixed. They're half Zimbabwean, half Zimbabwean.
Nice.
we argue in Shona, like when you're angry.
Wow.
It's so easy to just do it in your language, and in English, I just say it in Shona.
That's why I'm learning. That's why I'm trying to learn Nanja, so that I can know when they're speaking. Grace and her family are speaking about me. So I'm actually learning so that
Wanji. Thank you very much.
He's actually doing very well. He's doing very, very well.
Guys,
it's scary now.
Yes, thank you so much again for coming on board.
Thank you, guys.
Please share this broadcast, share it with your friends, share it with your family. And thank you so much for all your feedback, all the comments. There are a lot of guys that were interacting here with us. We value your position and your interaction. God bless you guys.
What more shall we say apart from saying thank you so much to those watching for giving us your precious possession, which is your time, and to Lee and Grace, many thanks. Thanks to those guys who were screaming in the background for allowing you to be here. We want to release you so that you also have time. By the way, tomorrow is Friday.
Friday.
We're signing out. Love you guys. Thank you.